How's it going, troops? Jordan here, back again with another Black Ops Cold War loadout video. My last loadout was timed very nicely with the recent 80s Action Heroes event for Cold War. In the last loadout we played as John Rambo from the Rambo movies, so for today's loadout we're going to be playing as our other action hero John McClane with this Die Hard loadout. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and let's jump right in. As mentioned, with this Die Hard loadout we're going to be role playing as John McClane from the movie Die Hard. And just like John, our main mission goal is to outwit Hans Gruber and his band of Jerry men and save his wife with the other hostages. Because we're basing this setup off the first Die Hard movie, our playstyle for this loadout is going to be roleplay, and given the lack of accessorised weaponry, since John McClane only had access to the weapons that Gruber's men carried, I've labelled today's loadout difficulty as moderate. So starting off with our primary weapon, we're going to select the MP5. Hans Gruber and the other terrorists are seen wielding shortened Heckler & Koch HK-94s, which is the American counterpart of the MP5, but to keep things simple, I'll just stick to calling it the MP5. In many instances throughout the film, John McClane steals these MP5s off the terrorists' dead corpses and uses them to fire back at Gruber and his men. We have the MP5 available in Cold War multiplayer, so we'll go with that as our primary weapon. But of course we're not going to go in bare bones, so let's talk attachments. Our first attachment is going to be the 9.5 inch Ranger barrel. This shortened barrel has that same handguard seen on the MP5s in the movie, so we're going to choose the Ranger barrel to replicate this. Our next attachment is going to be the drop shot wrap. This handle wrap reduces our flinch when shot at, as well as allowing us to go prone while still aiming down sights, and essentially letting us drop shot the bad guys. We can reference this attachment to one scene where McClane runs behind some desks and drops to the floor while firing his MP5. And for our third and final attachment, we're going to go with the obvious choice of the collapsed stock. The stocks on the MP5s in the film are collapsed in, and there's only one part of the movie where McClane extends the stock out and uses it as an anchor to lower himself down that shaft. So to stick to the film, we'll collapse our MP5 stock in. So now that we've discussed our primary weapon configuration, it's time to move on to our secondary weapon of choice for this loadout. For our secondary weapon, we're going to choose the 1911. The Beretta 92F is John McClane's trusty sidearm in Die Hard. Wherever he is inside the Nakatomi Plaza, you won't find John without his pistol on him. Unfortunately, we don't have the 92F in Cold War, but we do have the 1911, which with the right attachments, we can get it to look similar to the Beretta John wields. Starting with our first attachment, we're going to select the 5.63 inch TAC Ops barrel. This barrel gives that muzzle look of the Beretta, so that's why we're going to go with that. For our second attachment, we're going to choose the Salvo 14 round fast mag. McClane is fully trained with his pistol, which means he can go for those quick reloads whenever he needs to. The 14 round salvo grants us those quicker reloads with the addition of extra bullets in each mag, allowing us to take out groups of bad guys in a flash. And lastly, our third attachment is going to be the drop shot wrap. And again, for the same reason with our MP5, in the movie there's a scene where Hans Gruber is threatening Mr. Takagi to hand over the access code. And in the background we can see John McClane crawling along the floor with his Beretta in hand, so we can use the drop shot wrap to reference this. So now that we've discussed our primary and secondary weapon configurations, it's time to move on to our wildcard and perk setup. For this setup, we're going to select the Lawbreaker wildcard. We don't really need any other wildcards for this loadout, but as you're forced to pick one, I've gone with Lawbreaker for the name. Taking a look now at our perk selection, for our tier 1 perk, we're going to choose Flat Jacket. There's two reasons why we're going to go with this perk, and the first one is because throughout the film, John McClane wears a vest, and the Flat Jacket perk features a vest on it. The second reason is because of one scene in the film, where John drops an office chair with C4 strapped to it down the lift shaft to the bottom floor, which causes a chain reaction with other explosives located at the bottom of Nakatomi Plaza. The fiery blast is so intense, it begins to soar back up the shaft, giving John a split second to jump away from the powerful heat, so that's why we're going to go with Flat Jacket. For our tier 2 perk, we're going to choose Scavenger. Armed with only his Beretta against multiple terrorists with machine guns, John takes out the terrorists one by one, by scavenging their bags and bodies for weapons, ammunition and other supplies, including the infamous lighter, so we'll go with Scavenger to reference this. And finally, for our tier 3 perk, we're going to choose Ghost. John McClane is constantly on the move inside the Nakatomi building, leaving Hans and his men not knowing John's whereabouts, as they keep searching across the floors to track him down. The Ghost perk works well for this, as it keeps us hidden off enemy spy planes while on the move, so that's why Ghost will be our third and final perk. Moving on now to our equipment and field upgrade. For our lethal equipment, we're going to choose the Molotov. We've all seen that iconic scene from Die Hard where John McClane is crawling through the air vent with his lighter, and we're going to use the Molotov as reference to the lighter in that scene. As for our tactical equipment, we're going to go with the decoy. The decoy grenade looks similar to the walkie-talkie John uses to communicate with Officer Powell on the ground, as well as with Hans Gruber, so we'll go with the decoy for that reason. And lastly, for our field upgrade, we're choosing the field mic. There's not really any field upgrades that can relate to John McClane or the Die Hard movie, with perhaps the exception of the field mic. John tries his best to stay one step ahead of the terrorists and listens in on their conversations, so we'll equip the field mic to represent that. So now that we've talked about our equipment and field upgrade, it's time to finish off this loadout with our Scorestreak selection. For this Die Hard loadout, we're only going to select one Scorestreak, and that is the attack helicopter. Now I know at first this might seem out of place, but there is a reason for this Scorestreak. Towards the end of the film, Gruber demands to the FBI that a helicopter lands on the roof, so he can make his escape with the money. Thinking otherwise, the FBI send in an attack helicopter, in the hopes of shooting the terrorists on the roof dead. But Hans Gruber has other ideas on his mind. His men have planted C4 charges all around the roof, intending to literally blow the roof off the building, kill the hostages, and fake his own death in the process. His plan, however, doesn't go right, with the hostages getting away from the roof in time. But he does blow up the attack helicopter, killing all the FBI agents on board. So to try and make this section of the loadout less empty, we'll select the attack helicopter as our only Scorestreak. So troops, that wraps up my Die Hard loadout video for Black Ops Cold War. Next time you boot up Cold War multiplayer, definitely give this class setup a try in game, and as John McClane would say himself, yippee-ki-yay motherfucker. If you did enjoy this loadout video, then give the video a thumbs up, I would appreciate it a lot. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then why haven't you? Hit subscribe right now and also click the bell notification icon next to it, so that way you're always notified as to when I make an upload. If you have any friends who might be interested in this sort of content, then share the video around with them to help give my loadout videos and my channel more widespread exposure. And if you want to see behind the scenes previews on my loadout videos, you can follow me on Twitter at jordanxbrookes for all the latest on there. Also let me know down in the comments below if you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. I'll be interested to hear your opinions on that. It's a Christmas movie. So until the next video, I thank you all for watching, stay true to me troops, and I'll see you in game.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.